Sometimes a poem can be a way of holding on to something, in a way to get at the truth of how to say that thing. The language is a strange converting process that partly revives and partly loses what it is you want to say. There's this poem that I wrote which is about a queen bee, and my process of making it was to concentrate myself into the act of looking. And I sat for maybe an hour or two with the queen, who had died a few days before, in my hand under a light, and to observe her with a magnifying glass, and whilst doing that to write and to say things in the way that they seem to be disturbed or distorted by the process of magnification. So that the magnifying glass was literally magnifying the queen, but in terms of the poem, the magnifying glass was almost refracting time itself back into the life of that carcass. It starts like this. I keep the queen. She is long in my hand, her legs slightly pliant, folded, dropped down, wings flat that flew her mating flight. It's very literal. It just starts by saying something and then moving from that description, her legs slightly pliant, into this idea that her wings folded, drop down, her wings flat, her mating flight comes out of this, and then suddenly we're into the life of the queen and the cycle of bees. And from this I move into more intricate patterns of observation that are down as like a fox's grayness, that trying to sort of get to the minuscule memory of her life, trying to, in a way, scale down the voice so that it can become with that creature. And by the end of the poem, there's a sense of what I sensed was that I wanted to understand something that I couldn't, and the only way, even if it's an illusory way, was to make the voice small, to get in to that, to not ventriloquize it, not to speak for it, but to, in a way, merge with it. And in merging with it, I understood somehow that perhaps bees are a merged animal experience with a merged flower experience. And that is what the poem is about. In writing your own poems, it can be interesting to find an overlap between your own experience of something and what the unobtainable experience that you're trying to reach can be drawn through observations, and you can keep sketching, keep writing down until you find there's a kind of constellation that starts to happen, almost like the images that you see in the stars. These acts of voice can suddenly give an image, and the image might not be anything like the thing that you started to describe, but it becomes its own force, its own shape starts to lift from the page, and it's something that you can trust. It might seem odd, it might seem very unlike your own voice, but it probably is your voice. And that's something that you can probably say, let's try it, let's trust it. And perhaps that's the poem.